opinion, sir, as to this matter. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you recognize Justice Ascuna. We need your help.
Your Honors, when we were drafting the Constitution, present Constitution, we were thinking of adopting some portions of a parliamentary system, like the question hour, so that the members of the cabinet will be obliged to answer questions before committees of Congress. But we could not agree on the specifics, I think, but there is some element of the parliamentary system that we're able to introduce. But we also acknowledge, because we follow the presidential system, executive privilege. So we have a question hour. You can oblige members of the cabinet to appear before you, but they can also claim executive privilege. Now, whether sub-cabinet levels can invoke the privilege, I think they can if they do so as representatives of their cabinet members. In other words, what you cannot do directly, you cannot do indirectly. So if you cannot question the cabinet member, you cannot get the answer by questioning his undersecretary, in my view. So it depends whether or not the question really is something that pertains to the work, sensitive work of the cabinet member.
Thank you, sir.
To your mind, sir, the orders to the Chief PNP, therefore, are executive privilege. Is that correct?
They partake of functions that pertain to national security, so they might be subject to privilege. It is, I think, in case of doubt, we should decide in favor of the privilege because of the because of the presidential system that we have. So the parliamentary elements are an exception. So in case of doubt, you decide in favor of the rule against the exception.
That's right. Thank you, Honorable Ascuna. And perhaps we go to another topic, and that is that as important as the details of the actual arrest of PRRD are the events which took place prior to this. Firstly, the Quadcom hearings, the arrival of the ICC personnel in the country, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, the DOJ task force and case buildup. Let's tackle them in chronological order. The Quadcom started in August, and among the most important witnesses discovered by the Quadcom were those testimonies of Reina Garma and Leonardo. Is that right? That became a pivotal prosecutor. Would you like to assay an opinion?
Yes.
Mahalaga po yun, yung dalawa, no?
Yes. Again, good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Yes, you
po.
are correct, Madam Chair, in pointing out that Reina Garma was one of those witnesses called in the Quadcom committee hearing, and her testimony in that Quadcom committee was one of the more important highlights of the investigation. There were other witnesses who were called, I believe.
I think the Leonardo testimony was also very crucial.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
And they identified an individual called Muking Peter Parungo, among others. Is that correct? With a bank account where allegedly the incentives to policemen were deposited.
I believe that was mentioned, Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay. And SOJ thereafter urged the DOJ to cooperate and assist with the Quadcom in providing all the testimonies necessary. Is that correct, Secretary Remulla?
Yes, ma'am. And in fact, we have written communication with each other on
Oh,
this
is
matter.
that so? I'm
Yes.
only aware of the Department Order 778.
No, but with the Quadcom, it was a formal turnover of documents.
I see. The former president also appeared at the Quadcom noong November. Di ba napunta din siya dyan. Further, ICC personnel also have been coming to the Philippines. Is that not correct?
I have no knowledge of that. I have no personal knowledge, ma'am.
Yes, in the transcript of the first hearing, I believe you said that you have no knowledge that, as a matter of fact, labas-pasok. Parang ganun yung sinabi nyo, labas-pasok ang mga dayuhan sa Pilipinas, di natin alam kung sino-sino na yan. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Nasabi ba yan?
Oo, tama po yan.
Oo,
Tumpak po.
tama ba yung sinabi ninyo dati?
Opo, yun po sinabi ko.
Okay. Pwede ba natin ipakita yung binigay ng Bureau of Immigration na nagsidatingan yung ICC personnel noong October ng last year. Ang unang dumating ay isang interpreter na ang balita may koneksyon sa Pilipinas, Maya Destura Bracken, US citizen, dumating ng October 4. Interpreter ng ICC. May dumating na hindi ko sigurado kung narito pa kasi ang balita umiikot dito sa iba't ibang luxury hotels. William Rosato, ang balita British siya, dumating October 15, abogado ng ICC. Hindi naman po sikreto to kasi nung hinanap ko yung mga pangalan, nandun naman at naka-LinkedIn na ICC sila. Nandito sila sa Pilipinas, yung flight details narito. Andito rin yung si Mr. Kasam, Canadian, dumating dito at siya rin ay security expert. Ganon din, dumating rin dito Mr. Kala, British, October 24, investigador. Hindi po ninyo alam to, parang natanggap ko lang to sa Bureau of Immigration, sa pagkaintindi ko ay nasa ilalim po ninyo.
Nung panahon na yun, ma'am, I had a gallbladder operation. So I was indisposed for around 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
October po.
October. Opo.
Pero hanggang ngayon, nandito pa raw o kaaalis lamang, halimbawa si Mr. William Rosato, mula October hanggang very recently yata, o baka narito pa. Nababalitaan ko umiikot dito eh.
Wala hong nag-advise sa akin.
So,
At hindi ko naman kasi tinatanong na, sapagkat ang paniniwala ko talaga, labas-pasok lang ho talaga lang ang mga tao sa atin. At hindi naman pwedeng tanongin kung ICC sila o hindi.
Hindi naman pangkaraniwan tao to eh. Talagang ICC investigator to. So, walang pake ang DOJ, hindi kayo interesado, ICC nang pinag-uusapan.
Ano ho yan eh? Unless meron po silang naging atraso sa bansa at meron silang ginawang illegal, ay wala ho tayong magagawa dahil sinusubukan po nating igalang talaga ang karapatan ng lahat.
Sinasabi ninyo na ganon, subalit mukhang may proposed agenda sila para magbigay ng mga dokumento, affidavit, mga post-mortem record. Somebody clearly arranged for their accommodations and transport, hindi po ba? Alam nga naman nag-grab car yan, o 3 sakay ng jeep para umabot sa batasan. Kasi sa batasan sila di ba? Alam nga naman na alam nila, mga British, mga American, nakakakuha sila ng dokumento sa mga presinto. Hindi nga namin makuha, mga senador kami.
Ano ho kasi, ang mga dayuhan po na kagaya po nila sa nationalities nila, visa-free po yan for 30 days.
Oo, alam kong visa-free, pero alam nila pumunta sa iba't ibang presinto sa Caloocan, alam nila hagilapin yung mga tao sa Batasan Hills, at higit sa lahat, tinulungan sila ng pulis para kumuha ng mga PNP documents. May alam ba kayo, General Torre, Chief Marbil?
Malamang po, kung tatanungin niyo po ako dyan, kung may alam akong maaring tumutulong sa kanila, marahil may kilala po akong tumutulong sa kanila. Isang pari po na matagal ko ng kaibigan na tumutulong sa kanila.
Hindi, kasi ang liwa-liwanag, andito sa screen, hinihingi nila yung mga testigo, yung documentation, mga police blotter, mga ebidensya. Hindi yan binibigay sa miskisinong turistang tumatambay. Tinulungan talaga sila, di ba?
Hindi po ang DOJ ang tumutulong sa kanila.
Sino kaya ang tumutulong? Baka naman si Chief PNP Marbil, alam niyo kung sino tumulong. Dahil nakakuha sila eh. Pati mga ospital, nakadali sila ng mga confidential records kung sino-sino ang DOA na dumating sa East Avenue. Sinong tumulong sa kanila para hagilapin lahat ito? Kasi hindi naman makapanipaniwala isang British, Canadian, Amerikano, nakakaikot sila, sisipot sila sa presinto, ibibigay ng pulis lahat ng dokumento.
Marami ho kasing civil society organizations na tumutulong talaga sa kanila.
Eh di ba yan din nga ang reklamo nila, hindi sila binibigyan ng dokumento ng pulis? Baka si Chief Marbil, may alam po ba kayo? Bakit binibigay lahat itong hinihingi?
Madam Chair,
Police blotter, seized evidence, radio transmissions. Naku talaga, tactical operations na to ang bigat Tapos yung drug operation details, total number during the time period. Yan ang hiningi nila sa Batasan Hills Tapos ibinigay naman. Ba't po nagkaganon? Kadali-dali sa kanila.
Madam Chair,
Hirap
there's,
na hirap po kami dito sa Senado kumuha ng mga ebidensya katulad niyan.
Madam Chair, during my time as a Chief of the Philippine National Police, I have no request coming from the ICC to give any information regarding this matter.
Si Executive Director Alcantara, alam po ninyo na may humihingi ng kung ano-anong papeles? ICC, nagtanong ba sila? Meron pang bank records di ba? May bank
I'm sorry,
secrecy
Madam,
tayo.
I am not privy to any of these.
All these requests. Hindi nakakapagtaka kasi yung agenda na ibinigay ng ICC na pagkatagal-tagal nila rito at saka detalyado to ay hindi biro-biro, Police Station 6, Batasan Hills, QC. Lahat ng blotter, seized evidence, etc. Paano nila na-pinpoint yung ICC, na-pinpoint yung Police Station 6 sa Batasan Hills? Ang galing naman po nila, kararating pa lang sila sa Pilipinas, alam na nila lahat ng lugar.
I think it's the Committee on Human Rights before the Quadcom that came out with the Station 6 reports. If I recall it right, I think it was Congressman Abante who was chairing that hearing.
Tinulungan daw sila ng Colonel Romil Abenido, tao yata ni General Torre, tama ba yun? Doon sa Batasan Hills, sa Station 6, nung QCPD daw kayo, tao ninyo, tama ba yun?
Madam Chair, in the next hearing, can we require the presence of that Colonel Abinido?
Kasi yun ang tinuturo at yun ang nabanggit ng ICC. Kilala po ba ninyo si Colonel Romil Abenido po, General Torre?
Romil Avenido is the station commander of Police Station 1 when I was the QCPD district director, ma'am.
That's
He was
right.
transferred to Station 6.
That's right.
I'm not the district director already.
That's right. He was then transferred to Station 6. And you can't just walk into a police station and start demanding all sorts of documents. And who liaised with them? Sinong nagbantay sila sa kanila? Alam ko na may mga magagandang sasakyan sila. Paikot-ikot sila. May security pa sila. Ang balita, pulis pa nga nagbabantay. So siya rin ba yan, Chief PNP?
Madam Chair, during my time, I have no request coming from the ICC or any from, so I have no idea about it.
Sinasabi niyo during my time, kailan ba kayo naging Chief PNP?
Ma'am, April 2024.
Oo, ito October 2024, yung iba na natili rito hanggang palagay ko yung iba aalis lang o kundi narito pa. Matagal
That
sila.
is,
So
Madam
it's
Chair.
during your time po.
That is already during his time.
It's very much your
October
time.
na yun
Madam Chair, with that, I have no idea and have no request coming from the ICC po.
But sino nagbigay ng security? Na police?
Sir, I have practically no idea po, sir.
Sigurado po kayo? Kasi nakakuha rin sila ng medical records, may financial records, police records, forensic evidence. Medical records are confidential, alam naman natin lahat yan. Paano nila nakukuha lahat yan, pati CCTV? Paano nila nakuha? At very precise ang pagkakuha, ang dali-dali. Sinong tumulong sa ICC sa palagay ninyo? Wala ba kayong suspecha o alam kung sino?
Ma'am, Madam Chair, we will just investigate, but I have really no idea regarding this matter.
Si General Torre, pinuno ng CIDG. Siguro alam niya, kapag may tao na nagtatanong sa mga presinto, sa mga ospital, hindi ka ba magdududa, mga dayuhan pa man din? Di ka ba magtataka na patanong-tanong? Siyempre, alamin mo, ano ba nangyayari dyan? Ba't nakikialam? Hindi mo ba naramdaman na andito na yung mga dayuhan, tanong na ng tanong, ang dami-daming hinihinging ebidensya. Sino tumulong sa kanila?
That is why, Madam Chair, I move that that certain Colonel Abinido be required to be present in the next hearing.
Ganon. At may nababalitaan kami, may Mark Diskay daw na alalay nila, tapos nasa 5-star hotel sa Raffles, at madalas sa Maidas, at doon nagtatrabaho, maraming presidential suite, sunset suite, at kung ano-ano, 5 to 6 security daw na provide ng ating kapulisan at 4 to 5 na mga tsuper na nag-i-standby. Tapos umiikot sila, may mga escort pa sila na Pilipino at ang balita ko, nagkaproblema pa sila dahil doon sa Forbes Park may umihi yata at nagalit yung mga kapitbahay. Kaya ako lang narinig to kasi mga VIP daw, kaya hindi daw pwedeng guluhin. Wala kayong nababalita ang ganyan? Yung tungkol sa pagtitipon, pagkakaladkad sa iba't ibang testigo dyan sa Maidas Hotel, may mga important individuals, mga VIP rin, na ini-interview nila 3 oras minsan. Hindi rin nyo napapansin.
Madam Chair, I have no idea regarding this matter.
May balita na si dating Senador Trillanes, may ganun din. Si Ambassador Lacanilao, meron ba kayo alam dito? Kasi hindi rin namin alam to. May alam ba kayo kung sino ang tumulong sa ICC?
Wala ma'am, wala ma'am. Wala ho akong knowledge regarding sa ICC on their dito status nila dito o kung
So
ano.
walang may alam kung sino tumulong sa ICC. Pero tinulungan sila ng todo. At sigurado ako na may suspecha siguro tayo. Sinong tumulong sa ICC? Andyan yung NSC, laki-laki ng budget sa Intel. May Intel funds AFP, may Intel funds lahat ng PNP. Ang laki ng confidential fund, Office of the President, may NICA. Sa lahat nito, sa bilyon-bilyon na inaalat namin sa Confidential and Intelligence Fund, hindi ninyo naramdaman kailanman na nandito na yung ICC October pa na nakaraang taon. Tama po ba? Walang may alam sa anuman, sa ating DOJ, sa ating PNP, CIDG, higit sa lahat. Wala kayong nakikita kahit kinukunan na tayo ng kung ano-anong ebidensya at mga confidential papers. Wala kayong alam.
Madam Chair, for the PNP, we didn't get any requests coming from ICC to help them regarding the evidence that they need.
Okay, tignan natin. Sige, let's head on. Una, may Quadcom. Ikalawa, yung Senate Blue Ribbon. Ikalawa, yung ICC mismo napunta rito. Ikatlo, meron pang Senate Blue Ribbon. Naalala nyo, napunta rito si Presidente Duterte noong October at nagtestigo. Kaya lang walang sumipot kina Garma, Leonardo at Kerwin Espinosa. Di ba? Yun yung nangyari sa Senate Blue Ribbon. Maliban doon, ikaapat, may DOJ case build-up. At naaalala ko, eto na naman yung memo natin na nagkaroon ng task force on 4 November, already alluded to by our prosecutor, to cooperate with the Quadcom. Am I citing this correctly, Prosecutor Fadulion, please?
What we have, Madam Chair, was a department order issued by the Secretary of Justice creating the task force, which would look into the investigation which was being undertaken by the Quadcom at the time, and following the leads and working with law enforcement authorities to try and come up with the possibility of reviving these old or cold cases. So yun po yung department order na nag-create noon at binigyan po sila ng 60 araw base dun sa unang department order na nilabas para mag-submit ng kanilang initial findings.
Dumating dito yung ICC October, biglang-bigla, November 4, nagkaroon kayo ng task force. Ang ICC ba ay humingi ng tulong sa DOJ?
Wala po, categorically I will say, Madam Chair, na wala pong lumapit na taga-ICC sa amin, sa Department of Justice, para humingi ng tulong patungkol dito sa mga investigasyon
At hindi
na ginagawa
naman kayo
namin.
nag-volunteer na tulungan yung mga ICC na
Wala
narito?
po kaming maibo-volunteer kasi hindi naman po namin alam kung sinong kakausapin at wala po nakipag-ugnayan sa amin.
Kasi may ibang nagsasabi that the task force was supposed to pick up where the ICC could possibly have left off. Tama ba yun?
Hindi po. Ang sinundan po ng task force dyan, ay tulad po ng binanggit ko kanina, ay yung mga resulta ng investigasyon at impormasyon na nakuha at nakalap ng ating Quadcom Committee. So katulad po nun, halimbawa yung kaso ni Barayuga, so sinundan po yon base do sa testimony nila Garma. And then, meron pa hong tiningnan na ibang leads doon at doon po sila nagsimula magtanong at kumausap ng mga testigo on their own. Wala po silang coordination with the ICC.
So, ang coordination lang ninyo, katulad ng binanggit ni Secretary Remulla kanina, yung Quadcom, yung Senate, yung binabanggit sa 778, yung CHR, at yung iba pang PNP, Witness Protection, yung iba pang ahensya ng ating pamahalaan. Tama po ba?
Tama po yan, Madam Chair.
So, sa panahong to, meron ng 3 separate bodies trying to pin down PRRD. May Quadcom, may ICC, may DOJ Task Force, may ika-4 pa, yung Senate. So, 4 na sila.
Yung DOJ task force ho was really to check on EJ case. Period. Wala ho kaming aim of pinning down PRRD. Wala ho yan. Hindi ho totoo yan.
Pero EJK ang tinutumbok, kaya siya nagtestigo sa Quadcom, di po
Opo,
ba?
opo. Kasi, ma'am, karapatan po ng bawat Pilipinong maghanap ng hustisya eh. Kahit mahirap sila, kahit wala silang station in life, pag sila ho ay naapi, naghahanap po ng hustisya. Kaya
Siyempre.
kung meron ho silang nilapitan na taong nakakausap namin, siyempre pinakikinggan po namin. At yung mga tao mismo na nangangailangan ng tulong, sinisikap po naming tulungan.
Siyempre, hindi natin pinagkakait ang karapatan ng bawat isa. Matanda man, bata man, mahirap man, mayaman man, talagang pantay-pantay tayo sa harap ng batas. Kaya lang, nagtataka ako kasi napakarami na ng investigasyon, patong-patong. Meron pang CHR, di po ba? At in-interview si Richard Palpalatok ng DOJ Task Force. Nasa inyong record yata, Laila De Lima, Nery Colmenares. Tama po ba? Na-interview yan ng DOJ.
Opo, opo.
Ano nangyari at bakit po na-interview?
Sila po ay in-interview batay po dun sa, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung mga lumabas po dun sa Quadcom hearings, ma'am. So,
Pinagtatakaan lang namin dahil hindi naman sila victim o testigo o kamag-anak ng alleged victim ng EJK. Ang pagkakilala ko lang sa kanila, katunggali ni PRRD, yun lang.
if I may answer, ma'am, no? Yung may mga binanggit kayong pangalan, katulad po ni Richard Palpalatok, binanggit niyo rin po si Senator Laila De Lima. Maaring tama po kayo dun sa inyong sinabi.
May nagsabi lang sa DOJ at nakita ko may anunsyo yata sa inyong website somewhere.
Oho, pero hindi lamang po sila ang kinausap. Marami po ang kinausap. Andiyan dyan po yan si Father Flavie Villanueva. Bakit po siya kinausap? Dahil meron po siyang mga grupo ng mga naging biktima ng karahasan na kinausap at kailangan makausap ng ating mga prosecutors. Andiyan dyan din po si PNP Chief Romel Marbil na kinausap din po namin upang kami po ay mabigyan ng ang tawag nito, impormasyon hinggil dun sa mga kaso na gustong tingnan at imbestigahan hinggil sa EJK. So, Ito po ay kinausap upang makunan po ng leads para kung meron pong mga kaso na gustong isampa na walang ebidensya noon, maari pong buhayin.
Kahit hindi sila yung biktima, hindi sila yung pamilya, o hindi sila testigo sa anumang krimen.
Opo, kasi kahit na anong impormasyon po na makuha namin ay tinuturing po namin mahalaga at makakatulong po doon sa investigasyon na gagawin po ng task force.
So, ibig sabihin, nung end of the year ng nakaraan, meron ng legal team daw ng DOJ drafting a complaint for murder under RA 9851 for the deaths of 3 persons in the Davao Prison and Penal Farm. In coordination nga ito doon sa Quadcom.
I'm not so particular, ma'am. I can get that information kung meron na pong complaint na na-prepare. No? Pero malalaman po natin, sa ngayon po, wala pa pong naisasampa sa amin, sa pagkakaalam ko. Pero kung meron na pong preparation yung task force, I'm sure they will submit it to us po.
Ma'am, we found it necessary. Kinailangan po magtayo kami ng task force for EJ case. Sapagkat nung turn over sa amin ng Quadcom yung kanilang mga findings, we could not rely on them for being just incomplete. Kasi hindi ho talaga kompleto to make a case. Kaya kailangan po i-case build up. That's the reason why we put up the task force, ma'am.
Pero ang balita ko, at may nakita akong draft na March 6, yung task force ninyo humihingi pa ng 60 days para matapos yung investigasyon. Pero hindi binigay itong request na to. March 6 to kung 60 days, abot pa tayo ngayon. Was the DOJ aware that the ICC was going to issue a warrant already, so 60 days was unnecessary?
Hindi po, hindi ho kasama sa usapan niya kasi yung
Bakit
60
hindi
days po,
pinagbigyan yung additional
kaya
60
po
days?
sabi ho sa akin na isang prosecutor, sumulat siya sa akin, iyan po verbally ho, sinabihan ko pwede na naman extend na 60 days. Kasi nga, mahirap po talaga magagilap ng mga kaso na matagal na ho nangyari.
Yun
Ang
na
sabi
nga.
ko nga nung isang beses, wala nga mga police report, wala nga mga blatter ang marami. Mahirap ho itong trabaho namin na gumawa ng kaso at
Palibhasa nga
mag-case build up.
napakahirap at saka mga cold case na yan at nakaraan na yung taon-taon, bakit pinagpilitan at hindi binigay yung 60 days na hinihiling?
Hindi, binigay po namin ng 60 days. Kaya lang hindi na kami sumulat. Ito'y verbal na lang.
Pero March 6, 60 days, aabot pa yan ng ilang buwan? Yes, Prosecutor Fadulion. March 6 yung sulat
Yes, kung ako po'y pahihintulutan ninyo. Ito po yung naka-flash dito sa screen ngayon, Madam Chair. That is a
Yes po.
bogus document. That is
Ganon?
not a real document because there is no such document which contains exactly what is highlighted there. Yan po ang totoo. Ang meron po kami,
So saan galing yan? Sino si Abugan?
Herbert Calvin Abugan is the OIC Senior Deputy State Prosecutor of the Department of Justice. He heads the task force.
So totoong tao siya?
Totoong
at
tao po
totoong
siya.
hepe siya nung
Totoong
task
tao po
force?
siya. Yung dokumento po ang hindi totoo. Dahil sa, kung titingnan niyo po, Madam Chair, wala hong pirma yan. Kung yan po ay totoong memorandum na nakalusot at nakarating doon sa kinauukulan, dapat po pirmado yan.
So binaliwala na lang to at para sa ating lahat, sinasabi niyo peke to.
Manufactured po ito kasi po pinaghalo-halo nila yung nilalaman po niyan. Yung sinasabi po ninyong hinihingi na extension na 60 days, kaya nga po, hindi nga po totoo yung dokumento. Pero ang hinihingi pong extension na 60 days, kasi doon po sa unang department order na ginawa ni Secretary Boying, 60 days lamang po ang taning na binigay sa kanila para magsimula sila ng investigasyon. Kulang po yung panahon na yon, kaya po sila humingi ng karagdagan. Now, part of those that are indicated in that document, no, na sinasabi naming non-existing, ang tanging dokumento na nilabas namin ay yung pinadala po namin sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, updating the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee on March 6, 2025 of the events that happened in
So yun, tama yun.
Opo.
At hindi 60 days ang hinihingi. Walang ganon.
Wala po kaming binabanggit na 60 days doon po sa sulat.
So yun binigay ninyo sa Senate.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So, ang tinatanong ko lang, sa dinami-dami ng investigasyon, may task force pa ang DOJ, bakit yung DOJ hindi na lang nag-conduct ng sariling investigasyon. Imbes na nag-ICC pa at kung ano-ano pa. Nag-task force naman kayo. May Quadcom pa, may Senate pa, di ba?
Tama po.
Ang sinasabi ko, lahat ng ebidensya, dokumento, testigo nang galing sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas. Lahat ng pangyayari ay nasapit dito sa Pilipinas. Ang buong kaso ng ICC sa ebidensya at testigo ibinigay ng Pilipinas. Bakit di na lang ang admin ang nagsampa ng kaso kay Presidente Duterte sa husgadong Pilipino? Takot ba tayo sa dating Pangulo? Wala ba tayong kumpiyansa sa ating mga huwes, sa ating mga husgado? Tignan natin ang mga kaso sa ICC. Ang liwaliwanag, unang-una, doon sa ebidensya ng ICC prosecutor, nanggaling lahat sa agendang ibinigay at kinalat ng ICC. Ang liwanag kasi lahat ng dokumento galing sa PNP, galing sa drug watch list, financial records, forensic evidence. Ikalawa, yung timing. Nagdududa kami kasi una, may committee report yung Quadcom ng 18 December, pagkatapos yung prosecutor, agad-agad, pumila na ng warrant of arrest sa February 10. Pagkatapos noon, March 7, may ICC warrant. So, looking at this series of coincidences, parang may all-of-government approach na dakipin ng dating Pangulo. Ang hindi namin maintindihan, klarong-klaro naman na ito rin ang binasehan ng ICC case. So gusto lang namin maintindihan kung paano nangyari. Hindi naman nila makukuha yan kundi galing gobyerno.
Pwede po akong sumagot, ma'am. Yung binabanggit niyo po, ma'am, na confluence of events na nangyari, mga petsang binanggit po ninyo, wala pong kinalaman doon sa ginagawang investigasyon ngayon ng aming task force sa department.
Ibig sabihin, nandyan pa rin yung task force?
Nandiyan pa ho yung task force. Hindi pa po natatapos yan dahil...
Naku, magdahan-dahan ka ba to?
Dahil sa napakarami pa pong kasong dapat tingnan. Ngayon, ang banggit niyo po, Madam Chair, is that bakit hindi na lang dito gawin yung investigasyon? Iba po yung naging subject ng investigation, kung di po ako nagkakamali, patungkol sa dating Pangulo. While it covers the period 2011 to 2019. Ito pong mga investigasyon na ginagawa ngayon ng task force ay patungkol po doon sa mga biktima, naging biktima ng tinasabing drug war. At itong pong mga tao na to ay ngayon pa lamang lumalabas. Sinasabi po natin, meron pong mga dokumento, andyan dyan yung mga ehensya na pwedeng lapitan. Hindi po ganun kadali.
Pero maliwanag yung 2016 to 2019 na sinasabi nyo sa ICC, sako pa rin ng task force ninyo.
Sako po siya, pero hindi
kaya
po
nga,
siya aktual na kaso na subject noong kaso na kinakaharap ngayon ng ating dating Pangulo. Ang amin pong ginagawa ngayon ay tingnan itong mga
but they're overlapping surely, Prosecutor Fadulion.
They may overlap, that's what we're trying to find out. That's what we're trying to find out po, ma'am. But what we're just saying...
I think there's no mystery. Nandyan naman sa warrant of arrest ng ICC, nandyan naman sa prosecutor's brief. Maliwanag naman.
Yes, it would overlap, ma'am. I would agree with you if the subject matter and the persons involved and the victims are the same. But remember, there are so many other cases which are being cited, and these are the ones which are being looked into by the department right now. Kaya kinakausap po yung mga testigo. At dapat po sana nating maunawaan na ito po ay pinaglipasan na ng panahon. Ilang taon na po ang nakadaan dito. Hahagilapin po yung mga testigo, ang mga dokumento at mga ebidensya.
Kaya nga, nung unang hearing, sinabi talaga ni SOJ Remulla na natuklasan lang nila na magkakaroon ng warrant nung March 11. Pero nakikita natin, buwan-buwan na ito. Nag-umpisa pa nung Mayo, aktibong-aktibo na. At it involved the cooperation of so many government officials. At nandyan yung kung sino-sino, di ba? Andyan na yung DOJ, sumapi na yung House of Representatives, yung Senado, DILG, DOJ, PNP, CHR, DND, AFP, PCTC. Ang dami na umabot na sa cabinet level. At lahat ng galing sa Pilipinas yung ebidensya. Parang mahirap paniwalaan na hindi tumulong ang ating gobyerno sa lahat na ito?
Sana ho, alam namin kasi sasabihin namin na totoo, ma'am.
Kasi eksakto,
Wala talaga ho kaming alam na nakipag-usap.
sapul, doon sa hiningi ng ICC representative, sapul din yung binigay ng Pilipinas at sakto din yung lumabas sa ICC warrant of arrest at yung prosecutor.
Ma'am, yung mga civil society organizations na naglalakad dito, masipag sila. Nasabihin ko sa inyo.
Pwede ninyong sabihin o banggitin yung pangalan? Kasi kahit civil society ka, kahit senador ka, hindi mo naman nakukuha yung mga police blotter, yung mga CCTV, yung mga medical records. Imposible mo naman makuha yan.
Ayoko hong baka gantihan pa ho sila eh. Kasi marami pa hong salarin na nakalaya pa rin hanggang ngayon at naka-uniforme pa rin ho.
Senator Bato, ganun ba kadali makakuha ng bank records? Palagay ko, di ba, covered yan ng bank secrecy? Parang imposible makuha yan. Paano nakuha lahat yan kung hindi tunulungan ng ating pamahalaan?
Hindi ko, I have no idea, ma'am. Basta,
Ang PNP ba?
marami masipag hong magkapang. Yung mga
Ganon.
civil society organizations
Chief PNP at saka
na
General.
nagpa-facilitate po ng lahat ng yan.
Si Chief PNP po, si General Torre, sinasabi ninyo na makukuha yung forensic evidence, lahat ng testimonial evidence, police blotter, CCTV footage, at kung ano-ano pa, makukuha yan sa presinto. Basta pupunta ka doon, dayuhan ka. Halos hindi ka nga makapagsalita ng wika na naintindihan. Pero madadali mo lahat ng dokumentong yon. Ganun ba kaluwag ang presinto natin?
Madam Chair, hindi po. We need a request coming from the court if you need, or coming from us, requesting us na kailangan po for investigation.
So, nag-request po ba kayo? Dahil klaro naman, wala naman na court order.
As far as I can remember, wala pong request coming from the ICC na mag-request sa PNP.
So, dun sa Station 6, paano nila nakuha lahat yun? Sa Batasan Hills, sa QC. Paano na nadali lahat ng dokumentong yun kung wala namang court order at wala namang kayong utos?
Madam
Kahit
Chair,
ano pang sipag ng civil society, hindi nila makukuha yun kasi confidential, di po ba?
yes, Madam Chair, but we will investigate regarding this matter, but I have no idea regarding this matter.
Wala pa ho yung Quadcom, ma'am, nung nag-i-investigate si Congressman Abante under the Committee on Human Rights ng House. Napanood ko po yung episode na yun eh. Dito, pagkatapos po nun, nag-merge na po sila into Quadcom. Pero doon po sa hearing na yun, ang dami po lumabas talaga. Ang dami hong information na lumabas with regards yung sa mga patayan po na nangyari sa Batasan nung panahon na yun.
So, ang sinasabi po
Pero,
ninyo,
Madam Chair,
yes, Senator Bato.
hindi naglabasan doon yung mga forensic report, hindi naglabasan doon yung mga ebidensya, yung mga medical legal report, o hindi naglabasan doon. Ito very detailed ng mga bagay-bagay. So, it goes to show, Madam Chair, na kung yung complaint ng mga biktima ng AJK ko, no, na hindi sila makakuha daw ng blatter sa istasyon, ibig sabihin, Pilipino yun ha, complainant mismo. Ibig sabihin, napakagaling nito mga taga-ICC at nakuha nila lahat ng record na ito without cooperation coming from this government, Madam Chair.
Kaya nga pinagtatakaan natin kasi nagsusumipag tayo sa Senate, di naman natin madali yung mga ebidensyang yan. Nandito si Secretary Manalo at nais kong itanong kasi nung 28 March, inulit rin ng Malacanang matapos na yung aresto na yung ICC has no jurisdiction in the Philippines. We also agree that the ICC has no jurisdiction and that statement is tantamount to a rejection of ICC's jurisdiction over the country. Kasi hindi na tayo party sa Rome Statute. Tama po? Sa Law of Treaties, di ba? Ganun po?
Yes, ma'am. That's how it goes. Tama.
Are you familiar with the executive order of U.S. President Donald Trump, which imposes sanctions on the ICC? It was issued on February 6 of this year, and effectively freezes all properties and interest in properties found in the U.S. or held by U.S. persons, practically anyone who helps investigate, arrest, detain, or investigate certain persons. Hindi ba ganun yung executive order, yung tungkol sa sanctions sa ICC? Among the protected persons is a citizen of an ally of the U.S. not consented to the jurisdiction of the ICC or not a state party to the Rome Statute. Ayan. So, ang tanong ko, andito rin, makikita natin, may dokumento na ang Pilipinas is identified as a major non-NATO ally. Tama po ba? Matagal na yan, luma na yan, no? Di ba, yung non-NATO ally tayo, hindi naman tayo NATO, pero talagang kaalyado tayo. Tama po ba?
It's considered parang ganun, non-NATO ally.
So sakop tayo as a major non-NATO ally, although it's alleged that the executive order of President Trump seeks to protect Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, all non-NATO allies are in fact covered. Tama po ba?
Well, ma'am, I don't really know if there's exactly that kind of provision.
Well, it's written very clearly in the executive
I mean,
order.
I mean that I would protect them from ICC. I think ang aim ng US is really to protect US targets in case a country helps in getting a US target arrested by ICC, they may come in.
Since the Philippines continues to reject the jurisdiction of the ICC, we're not a party to the Rome Statute, both of the conditions indicated in the executive order. Is the former president therefore a protected person under the issuance of President Trump?
I don't believe that that would be covered. In fact, we haven't
Why
heard,
not? We are a major non-NATO ally.
we've not heard anything from the United States on this point.
Don't need to be told. We just comply with the law.
Well, as I said, we have not heard anything from the U.S. in that. In fact, our
I think
talks-
we're not expecting to hear from them.
Well, I think they would have come to us. In fact, when we've had talks with them, our talks have been on very different issues, our most recent talks. But I'm not quite sure whether that's exactly...
I'm just considering that the wording of Section 8D2 of that issuance says, citizen or lawful resident of an ally of the U.S. has not consented to the ICC jurisdiction or is not a state party to the Rome Statute. A very plain reading will say who is within the coverage. So we've not consented to ICC jurisdiction. We're not a state party. Paulit-ulit po. At ang Pilipinas ay talagang dineklarang major non-NATO ally. Di po ba?
Well, yung major non-NATO ally has been there for a number of years. But I'll just say first on the
Kaya nga, hindi naman nagbabago yan. Matagal na yan.
But on the jurisdiction, since we are not a member or no longer a member of the ICC, we've already made very clear we were not under jurisdiction. What happened in the case of President Duterte was that our cooperation was with the Interpol, and that we are a member of the Interpol, and there's nothing in the U.S. statement that says cooperation with Interpol would not be acceptable. So we did not.
I'm not making
we did
reference
not,
to any of that. I haven't mentioned Interpol. It
But
came
we
from you,
haven't
Secretary
cooperated with,
Manalo.
we have not cooperated directly with ICC because they have no jurisdiction over the Philippines, and we have not been
But
in
we're
contact.
using an ICC warrant. The Interpol has never issued a warrant. President Duterte is not wanted by the Interpol. They were just relaying. Look at the email in the diffusion order.
Well, the cooperation, all I can say, ma'am, cooperation is with the Interpol, not with the ICC directly.
I think that's not the question, sir. It's unresponsive. Have we consented to the ICC jurisdiction?
No, we have not, and that's why we have cooperated with Interpol. That's why I don't believe we fall under that U.S. executive order. And anyway, I believe if there were any issue, it would have certainly been brought to our attention.
Yes, Secretary Remulla mentioned in the first hearing international humanitarian law, which confused everyone because it only refers to wartime relief and largely to the Red Cross. and possibly crimes against humanity as part of customary international law, papayag tayo, pero yung jurisdiction ng ICC, customary na rin, may universal recognition of ICC jurisdiction. Paano nangyari yun?
I don't get it, ma'am.
You referred to the basis of the Interpol and the ICC warrant. Since we are no longer under the jurisdiction of the ICC, ang sabi po ninyo, yung international humanitarian law ang
Ma'am, it's
ini-invoke nyo.
the world community.
Panggera naman yun.
It's the world community that has a regime that recognizes international humanitarian law and gross violation of human rights, ma'am.
Pero kahit may international humanitarian law, which is really irrelevant in this case, wala namang digmaan, wala namang hinaharang ng
Then
mga
it's a human
relief
rights factor,
workers.
ma'am.
Pero hindi naman siguro universal recognition of ICC jurisdiction.
No, more than
Meron
100
bang ganon?
more than 100 countries do recognize the jurisdiction.
Yes, but even if you're not a member, you fall under them. Akala ko sabi mo hindi.
Ano nga ho eh, the country is not, but the individuals are. Kasi ano nga ito eh, parang in fact, yung mga sinulat po after the arrest of the former president, it changes the complexion of politics. Kasi yung impunity may have a lesser role in the future.
Yes, in order for the ICC to exercise jurisdiction over an individual, kasi nga kanina nalilito na si Bato tungkol sa individual at state, the Philippines must still, at the very least, consent to jurisdiction over the individual, tama? Nag-consent ba tayo?
Ano ho yan eh, gagawin nila yan whether we like it or not.
Okay. At binanggit ni Secretary Manalo, katulad ni Pangulo Bongbong, na yung Interpol ang dahilan. Tanggap naman natin ang Pangulo ay napakalawak ng kanyang diskarte, ang kanyang kapangyarihan para ayusin ang ating foreign policy. But I can't accept that the Philippines was merely complying with commitments to Interpol, which has been alluded to by Secretary Manalo again. Hindi ba dapat sabihin na talaga yung katotohanan ay kahit we were assured that the ICC has no jurisdiction in the Philippines, the Philippine government chose to surrender, chose to cooperate, chose to build the case against President Duterte for the ICC and evade the national
Again, ma'am, I would
laws.
go back to Republic Act 9851, which recognizes international tribunals.
Yes, pero nahihilo na po ang buong sambayanan. Sabi ng Pangulo, Interpol, sabi rin ni Secretary Manalo, sabi ni
And the Interpol, ma'am, I was one of the first persons to say that the Interpol would play a part with whatever problems there would be with the ICC.
Ang naalala ko po si E.S. Bersamin din na nagsabi
Before the ES said
Interpol.
that, I said it already before,
Ay,
ma'am.
ganun ba? Okay po. So may Interpol. Pagkatapos, maliwanag sa certification ni Prosecutor Fadulion, Rome Statute naman ang kanyang ini-invoke. Pagkatapos, doon sa sinaunang hearing, ang SOJ natin, paulit-ulit na sinasaad na hindi ICC, kundi RA 9851, ang mahiwagang Section 17, Paragraph 2, last phrase. Tapos sabi naman, na iba na naman, naging IHL. Kahit wala namang gera o
IHL
kinalaman
and
sa Red Cross.
9851 I use in the same light, ma'am. Kasi that's our version of international humanitarian law, which is Republic Act 9851.
Naku naman, paano naman naging customary pati jurisdiction at procedure? Hahayaan ko na lang. Pero sabi rin, walang jurisdiction ng ICC, pero may jurisdiction sa individual at sa krimen. Naku, parang panloloko na to, hinihilo na po kaninyo kami. Gulong-gulo na ako eh. Ilang
Ano ho
beses
to
ko nang
eh, hindi
binabasa.
sana magulo to. Kung nag-withdraw tayo sa ICC, nirepeal din natin yung 9851. Hindi ho natin nirepeal eh. And it's supposed to be a companion bill. Kasi nauna pong i-pass ang Republic Act 1951 bago po tayo nag-accede sa ICC. Which means talagang yung naging basis po ng ating accession sa ICC ay 9851. Pero ang problema ho, nung nag-advise po kay President Duterte na umatras tayo sa ICC, hindi po binigay yung advice na i-repeal din ang 9851.
Baka may maidagdag si Attorney Medina, yung constitutionalist natin, si Justice Ascuna. Talaga bang IHL ito? Talagang international humanitarian law, pati jurisdiction, procedure, administrative law, sakop na lahat ng IHL. Parang ang hirap naman tanggapin.
Madam Chair, while the
This was in the previous hearing, to be fair po, not today.
yes, the question is whether or not the Philippine IHL law is relevant, since IHL is the law on armed conflict and there's no war. Okay. That is true, but then among the crimes covered by IHL is crimes against humanity. And crimes against humanity may be committed during peacetime as well as wartime. Consequently, the Philippine IHL, although generally addressing offenses committed during war, can also address offenses committed during peacetime, because, as I said, certain offenses, such as crimes against humanity, are by definition crimes that can be committed during wartime as well as peacetime.
Yes, that is to do with the nature of the crime po, Justice. Perhaps, Attorney Medina, you can bolt in. You were present in the first hearing. Pati ba naman jurisdiction, procedure, lahat yan sakop ng IHL?
The jurisdiction of the ICC remains under the concept of a complementary jurisdiction, meaning that it kicks in only if the national judicial system is genuinely unable to genuinely prosecute or investigate the suspect. So,
Is that the case po in the Philippines? Are we genuinely unable to prosecute?
in the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte, the ICC apparently has reached the conclusion that the Philippines is unable to genuinely prosecute him because no case was filed against him after so many years, even after he stepped down from the presidency. That is the finding of the ICC, so they issued a warrant of arrest on the footing that they have their complementary jurisdiction has set in, because the Philippines, as far as the former president is concerned, is unable to genuinely prosecute him.
However, if the cases, for example, that would emanate from the Quadcom, the DOJ task force, the Senate Blue Ribbon hearing, the ICC investigations that utilized all the government agencies, if these resulted in a case and they were filed in the Philippines, certainly the Philippine courts are competent, able, willing to rule on this. Don't you think so, Honorable Ascuna po and Attorney Medina?
Part of the reason, perhaps, of the inability to genuinely prosecute is the availability of witnesses. In cases of very high-level persons like former heads of state, the experience of the ICC is that the witnesses are generally afraid to testify in their home countries, so that even if the Department of Justice, for instance, is investigating, genuinely investigating the cases, the witnesses may not be forthcoming. In fact, the prosecutor of the ICC resorted to what they call internet invitation of witnesses, and in this way the witnesses came out through the internet, and I think the witnesses now are willing to testify in The Hague. Witnesses who would not be willing to testify here in the Philippines. So it's not the prosecution, it's the witnesses that makes it unable genuinely to prosecute the former president.
Yes, thank you very much. Justice Attorney Medina, would you like to add something to our understanding of IHL and procedure,
Thank-
jurisdiction,
yeah.
and such other matters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I get the point of our good secretary that the crime of crime against humanity is not just an international law crime. It's actually a crime in the Philippines, punishable in the Philippines. And 9851 actually provides
Yes,
that
given
the
naman
person,
po yun,
Opo,
pero
oo.
pati jurisdiction, pati
Opo.
procedure, lahat na lang naging customary law.
No, that's the problem po. That if we have to comply with international law, we have to also comply with the Philippine laws, okay? And primarily, that would be the Constitution. So international obligations, yes, there's the principle of Pactus Servanda that we have to comply with international obligations, but that does not necessarily mean that we have to disregard constitutional protections under the Bill of Rights. Now, of course, there are a lot of debates going on whether or not the ICC should have jurisdiction or should we recognize the ICC, and that's precisely the point. It's not for the police, it's not for the executive branch to decide that. Ultimately, it should have been decided by a court of law because it involves the deprivation of liberty. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Attorney Medina. You had the privilege of hearing the debate last hearing. In any case, I'd like to go to another topic, and this is finally the private jet. The U.S. government will obviously have the last say on its executive order, although Section 1 is clear that properties of those who aided, sponsored, investigated, or provided material support to the ICC shall have their assets frozen. Maraming picture po nung tail code ng aircraft. Nandito ba yung CAAP, Secretary? Comsec, wala tayong CAAP. Sorry. Wala tayong CAAP. Wala rin tayong DOTC.
Wala po, ma'am.
Walang makapagsabi kung ano nga sasakyan na to. Yung tail code C5219, is anyone aware of what company it's registered under? Kasi nung nakaraan, nandito yung SEC. Nandito po ba yung SEC? Ayan, Attorney Bernal.
Yes,
Dati
yes,
sinabi
ma'am.
ninyo na ano yun, alin na, sino nga ba yung may-ari nito? Yung kumpanya, yung Pearl, Aero Pearl, naku, nakalimutan ko na.
You just requested the company documents, ma'am. And we have the...
Yung Asian Aero Pearl,
Challenger Aero...
yung Challenger Aero, ang sabi na nabago kasi yung website ng Challenger Aero, kaya nalilito kami. Biglang nabago pagkatapos ng hearing. Hinahanap ko wala na doon. Sabi, the company arranged for the flight. We were able to get a screenshot of the article. So, palabas lang yung screenshot ng Challenger. Ayun, no. Ayan, Challenger Aero Air. Inimbitahan rin namin ang piloto. Wala naman po rito. Ayan, Challenger Aero Air. Baka yung SEC may alam kayo. Kasi nung second hearing narito kayo, pero ang problema, sabi niyo hindi pa na-request yung pangalan.
we have already forwarded to the Secretariat, ma'am.
So sino may-ari po? At sila bang may-ari ng eroplano or they just arrange the flight? Nalilito po kami.
I just have the documents concerning the incorporators of the... per articles of incorporation, ma'am, the...
Siya bang may-ari?
We don't have the facts about the airplane or the assets of the corporation, ma'am.
Ano yung Asian Pearl Aero? Yung unang hiningi. Yun daw yung registered owner.
We only have Challenger Aero Corporation, ma'am, and Challenger Aero Aviation Pampanga Inc. We will verify with our if
Yes, I think the first set, the Asian Pearl, was the first company that we asked you to check. Nauna pa yun eh.
I will verify with my staff, Your
Okay,
Honor.
kasi ang mahirap dito, wala yung CAAP, wala yung DOTC. Ngayon, sinabi ni Secretary John Vic na the Office of the President ang nagbayad para sa jet. Tama ba to o hindi? Meron bang pwedeng sumagot nito? Dahil wala po si Secretary John Vic. At marami sa ating mga kababayan nagtatanong kung group effort ito, chismis rin ba to? Baka sina General Torre, sina Prosecutor Fadulion, nandun kayo sa Villamor. Alam ba ninyo kung paano itong eroplanong ito kinuha? O na-charter ba to? Ano ba nangyari rito?
Ma'am, ang ano kasi, darating na naman tayo rito. Itong eroplanong to, nagagamit po ng presidente to.
Oo,
Paminsan-minsan.
ginamit ulit. Pagkatapos nung pag-aresto ni
Ngayon,
Presidente Duterte,
hindi ho namin
ginamit
pwedeng
po sa amin
pag-usapan.
sa Ilocos.
Hindi ho namin pwedeng pag-usapan yung travel arrangements ng presidente. These are national security matters. I think that we should respect, I don't think that we should really talk about this because this is
Nakikita po ng tao,
ang
mahirap
ano ho,
maging
ang travel
executive-
arrangement po ng presidente in the past, the
Mahirap
present,
maging
and the future.
executive privilege. Ay, nakabulat-lat sa lahat ng dyaryo.
Hindi, pero yun nga, sinasabi ko ho, you cannot expect answers from us pagdating po rito. You cannot expect answers from us. Because,
No, but,
ano ho ito eh, pakikinabangan to na susunod na Pangulo. Ginagamit ngayon ng Pangulo. Sabihin natin, hindi ho dapat pinag-uusapan. Kasi nga,
Pero
we hold the life of the President as sacred.
Po
Hindi ho
naman, pero
natin,
Secretary John Vic already said it was chartered and paid for by the Office of the President.
I don't know if he has personal knowledge of that.
How much
but-
was paid kaya?
Well, that's speculative, ma'am.
Meron bang official receipt? Meron bang bidding?
Ay,
What
yun
was
nga,
the mode of procurement?
we cannot go into the details of travel arrangements because these have national
The
security
request
implications.
was made in March
I think we should
11.
respect national security, ma'am. I think it's
Yes,
it's imperative.
if you'll allow me to just ask, because this has already been divulged to the public, it's hardly secret. If it was national security at stake, it should never have been spoken about, but it's all over the media, and it came from government. That they only knew about the request, as you said, on March 11. Sa umaga ng March 11, nalaman ninyo yung Interpol. Pagkatapos ito, na-charter sa ilang oras lamang. Andun na ba yung eroplano nung nandun kayo sa Villamor, General Torre? Kasi abala kayo na isakay si Presidente Duterte. Nag-aabang na ba yung eroplano? Anong oras siya nandun? Kasi nagmamadali kayo para isakay na, di ba?
I really don't know about the plane, ma'am. I only saw it around after mga mid-afternoon. Na tinuro sa akin, hindi ko pa nga sigurado, ma'am, kung yun nga aeroplano ang gagamitin eh.
So bale, 3:00 ng umaga, na-procure na lahat ito. Kasi ang haba ng proseso natin, ilang araw, ilang buwan yan. I don't know what mode of procurement, pero sinabi, chinarter. Ang bilis naman, di ba? Ilang oras lang, sa hapon nandun na. Kaya nakakapagtaka. At as mentioned by Secretary Remulla, the security arrangements for the President are very, very stringent and have to be vetted time and time again, repeatedly. So the question still remains. The government clearly knows who owns the plane, and it's unclear how much they paid, what procurement process they determined, and who are the shareholders of said companies
As I said again, ma'am, these have national security implications. I'd rather not talk about it.
Yes, national security involves information that hasn't come out in the public, pero ito talagang binulat.
But it's still national security, ma'am. Even if it came out in the public inadvertently, it still involves, still has severe national security implications.
Okay, it came out in Senator John Vic's Pinky Web interview, so maraming nakapanood. Ang OFW naman natin, andito ang ating Secretary Kakdak. In the last hearing, as well as today's hearing, we're all terribly worried about the OFWs, and the OFWs overseas are terribly worried about themselves. If the administration can arrest a former president without a warrant issued by a Filipino court, paano na lang daw sila? If they're suspected of having committed a crime overseas, can anyone from DMW, wala naman yung OWA, ipaliwanag lang ninyo ang proseso kung isang OFW natin pinagdudahan o pinagsuspetsahan na sila ang nadali sa ang gumawa ng isang krimen, paano ba tiniturn over sa foreign jurisdiction yon? Itiniturn over ba ng embassy o ng DMW yung suspected Pilipino or sa DFA? Tiniturn over ba sa gobyerno? Paano ba yun?
Madam Chair, meron po tayong set protocols and safeguards in the event na an OFW faces arrest in the host country. Ang konteksto po nito, yung OFW ay nasa host country. An OFW is somebody who has remunerated work and is not a citizen or permanent resident of the host country. At meron na po tayong mga procedures, ma'am. First and foremost, meron tayong welfare assistance, so mga welfare checks. Kung yung
Tinatanong ko
worker
lang, paano tiniturn over kung naakusahan ng krimen, suspected, tapos tiniturn over sa foreign jurisdiction? Paano nangyayari yun?
Ma'am, yung mechanisms po ng host country will come into play. The host
Depende sa bansa. Yusek De Vega seems to be raising his hand
Sige
po.
po.
Quickly, Madam, because they're in a foreign country, they're under the jurisdiction of the host authorities. So if they commit a crime abroad, it will be the host authorities who will arrest them or prosecute them. And as Secretary Kakdak was saying, then we have our rules to give them due assistance, whether it's a lawyer, of course, jail visits. And so it's very regular. It's been
So
done for
tutulungan
many
pa rin
years.
natin at bibigyan ng abogado.
Opo.
So kasi natatakot sila dahil hindi nga pinapasok si VP Sara. Natatakot ngayon yung mga OFW natin paano sila kukuha ng abogado, hindi pala pinapayagan miski dating Pangulo.
Well, Madam, just to give it a good example, there were people rallying for President Duterte in
Nakulong.
Qatar, and we got them out.
That's right.
So,
So what safeguards are there to ensure that our OFWs, their rights to due process, which weren't recognized apparently, and their liberty or of abode are respected overseas? Kasi sumailalim na nga sila sa ibang bansa, sa batas ng ibang bansa. Maipagtatanggol ba natin sila? Natatakot na sila
The safeguards were passed by no other than the distinguished members of the Congress, Madam, since 1995 with the Overseas Migrant Workers Act, and then now complemented by RA 11641, which created the DMW. The DMW has its action fund for OFWs, and we have our own assistance to national funds for foreign-based Filipinos who are not OFWs.
Ilan pa ba ang nakakulong sa ibang bansa?
Ma'am, by our count, and our lawyers are handling these cases, around 1,198 by our count, and these are active cases handled by our lawyers.
Yes, at pinipilit ko nga ako personally na yung service of sentence gawin reciprocal na dito na lang sa Pilipinas. Pero hindi pa nagagawa yan. So alam natin na kapag Pilipino na parusahan sa abroad o kahit papano naipit sa gera nung panahon ng yung truck driver sa Iraq-Iran, naalala ko, talagang pinagpilitan natin na mag-ipon ng blood money, pagkatapos nakipagkalas pa tayo sa Alliance of the Willing para makuha yung isang truck driver. So talaga lahat ng effort, kahit na-convict na, kahit kriminal na nga ang tukoy, pinipilit pa rin natin iuwi. Kaya ngayon, natatakot sila, yung dating Pangulo na matanda at may sakit, bakit tinangay sa ibang bansa? Takot na sila. Anong masasabi natin?
Ma'am, what we have po are mechanisms in which to defend our OFWs, more particularly with the DMW, once they are faced with cases overseas in the host countries. Nandun po ang legal retainers natin, ang lawyers natin on hand. Kung sila'y inaresto, pupuntahan sa police station, as what happened in the case of the Qatar 17. based on the directive of the President, magkaroon ng jail visits. So nangyari po ng jail visits doon and welfare assistance and of course yung immediate release na na-secure sa kanila.
Okay, so yung 1,198, maiuwi ba natin sila?
Ma'am, meron pong kanya-kanyang process as mentioned by Yusek Ed in the host countries. Meron ho, as far as I know, Soj is here, meron pong service of sentence agreements usually. As far as I know, the most recent one agreed was the UAE. We were there with the Soj who signed it.
Konti pa lang, nasa 27 pa lang yata. Napakadaming bansa.
Would not have first-hand information as to how many, but definitely meron tayo mga bansa na
I just
meron ng
sponsored
mga
the last
agreements.
one with Canada po.
Opo. There are some countries who voluntarily send sentenced persons home. The most recent one is Kuwait agreement, ma'am.
Secretary Manalo, please, mauuwi ba natin sila?
We will try as much as we can, pero depende rin sa nature of their crime. But for sure, they will be given adequate legal help. Tsaka kung pwede, we will try our best to bring them home. Sometimes we have an unexpected result, like yung nangyari sa Indonesia kay Mary Jane Veloso. They decided just to send her back. So it's really case by case, pero just ang policy natin is whenever we can, we'll do our best to try and bring them home or at least lessen their sentence. Depende sa nature of the crime or the...
So nasa policy ba ninyo na iuwi rin natin si former President Duterte?
Well, it's
Yes, sa general rule, inuuwi natin lahat ng Pilipino, di ba? Talagang kung ano-anong ginagawa natin, nakikisuyo, naninikluhod, nag-aambag-ambag para makapag-ipon ng pera, lahat na ginawa natin para maiuwi. Ito, tinangay sa labas. Iuwi ba natin?
Well, for sure, definitely we will provide whatever assistance we can kung i-request the President. And of course, here it's slightly different kasi this is ICC. It's an international organization. But certainly
Ang
lahat
pagkalam
ng...
ko, yung Davao City Council nagpasa ng resolusyon na iuwi.
Well,
A-actionan ba yan ng DFA, ng DMW? Alam ko, na-actionan ninyo lahat eh.
pero the ICC ito eh. Yeah.
Well,
This is,
Well, madam, pag nag-uuwi tayo ng Filipinos, kailangan may court, may court na release ng
Wala
court.
namang court yung sa Qatar na 17, di ba?
Yes, but-
Pinakiusapan, pati yung kay Mary Jane Veloso na pakiusapan, wala namang court order.
Senator, this is slightly
At
different.
saka marami na nangyari ng nakaraan. Nakikipag-usap tayo, nagbabayad tayo, talaga naman na nakikisama tayo maigi para lang maiuwi.
Well, number one, ang embassy natin nakatutok talaga dun sa whatever help we can give. Pero ang problema nito, ang kaano natin dito is the ICC, which is a court. So it's a little bit different from dealing with a government normally. So I think we are entering into a new area. Mahirap magano eh. Who will we appeal to? Sa ICC, we can only appeal to the judges. Another problem we also have is hindi na tayo member ng ICC. So technically, we do not deal with the ICC directly. And they will not recognize our government also.
Ang hirap nga dyan, sir, is that you are not dealing with the ICC directly, but you are dealing with the Interpol with the same subject, yung warrant pa rin na galing sa ICC. So,
Bakit
hindi
gano'n?
ba pwedeng-
Yung
hindi-
warrant kikilalanin,
Hindi ba
pero
pwede-
yung pagligtas hindi.
Hindi ba pwedeng pabagsabihan ang Interpol na sorry, hindi na namin na-recognize yung jurisdiction ng ICC. So hindi namin yan pwede ma-effect yung warrant ng ICC dito sa aming jurisdiction. We have to stand as a nation. Yung ibang bansa, gano'n ang ginagawa eh. Ibang bansa, gano'n ang ginagawa. Hindi kami membro dyan. Isnab namin yung warrant ng ICC. Pero ginagamit natin na very lame excuse yung ating commitment sa Interpol. Na napakadali lang naman i-explain sa Interpol yan na hindi namin kayang gawin yan. Kasi hindi namin na-recognize yung ICC dito sa aming bansa. Tayo pa nga mismo naghatid doon sa ICC. Kabaligtaran nga eh. In other kag tayo, we are the requesting party, tayo ang sumusundo ng suspect doon sa ibang bansa na pinaaresto natin. Pero in this case, ICC or Interpol, as you said, sila ang requesting party. Ngayon, dapat sila nagsundo kay President Duterte dito. Ngayon, tayo pang naghatid doon. Masyado man tayong eager na ihatid siya doon. For what reason? Anong reason? Bakit ganun? Tayo pa naghatid. Hindi ba tayo makahintay na pupunta dito ang Interpol? Kukunin siya dito o yung ICC? Tayo pa naghatid doon. Masyadong hindi ko ma-gets yung kung tayo Pilipino, bakit natin ipagkanulo yung ating kapwa, isa pang presidente, dating presidente, ipagkanulo natin sa mga dayuhan. Ay yan ang bagay na hindi ko talaga matanggap-tanggap. Ako magpapakamatay ako kahit na kriminal yan, na basta Pilipino, kung agawin dito sa ating bansa, kababayan ko yan, kailangan protektahan ko yan. Mapagpakamatay ako. Pero tayo, instead na protektahan yung ating kababayan, hinatid pa natin doon silver platter. Napakasakit po isipin na, Madam Chair, para tayong hindi mga Pilipino nito. Ang hirap. Yung mga tao tuloy, kung kasi alam nyo, impact nito, no, kung baliwala lang itong issue na ito, you can just imagine thousands of Filipinos all over the world ay nagpapalabas ng kanilang saloobin, sama ng loob, bakit hinuli si Pangulong Duterte. Okay lang kung hulihin. Dito natin dalhin sa ating bansa, dito natin itry. Pero dinala pa doon, hinatid natin doon. Anyway, there are underlying reasons why this happened. At ako talaga, gusto ko talaga magpaka-Pilipino. Tell me, para dipisahan ko yung Pilipino niya na hindi galawin ng banyaga. Sana ganun ang pag-iisip ng bawat Pilipino. We have to protect our own. We have to protect our race. Hindi yung ating ipagkanulo doon sa mga banyaga. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat. Yan din ang damdamin nating lahat. At nagpapasalamat ako kay Senator Bato sa lahat ng dumayo dito sa ating hearing. Thank you very much for attending. Kahit hindi kayo sumipot nung nakaraang hearing, narito naman kayo ngayon. Naasahan ko na magtutulungan tayo para matuklasan ang katotohanan at hindi na maulit ang paglalabag sa ating saligang batas at sa ating mga iba't ibang batas, pati na rin ang suspended.
him, which he had named in the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, commercial standard. So Ephron's field, which was in Machpelah, facing Mamre, the field and cave which was in it, and all the trees which were in the field, that were within all the confines of its border, were deeded over to Abraham for a possession in the presence of the sons of Heth, before all who went in at the gate of his city. After this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field at Machpelah, facing Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave that is in it were deeded over to Abraham for a burial site by the sons of Heth. Genesis chapter 24. Now Abraham was old, advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in every way. Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he owned, "Please place your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I live. But you will go to my country and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Isaac." The servant said to him, "Suppose the woman is not willing to follow me to this land. Should I take your son back to the land from where you came?" Then Abraham said to him, "Beware that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my birth, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, 'To your descendants I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you will be free from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his master, and set out with a variety of good things of his master's in his hand. He arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. He prayed, "O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today, and show loving kindness to my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing by the spring, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now may it be that the girl to whom I say, 'Please let down your jar so that I may drink,' and who answers, 'Drink, and I will water your camels also,' may she be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this, I will know that you have shown loving kindness to my master." Before he had finished speaking, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jar on her shoulder. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin, and no man had had relations with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up. The servant ran to meet her and said, "Please let me drink a little water from your jar." She said, "Drink, my lord." She quickly lowered her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, "I will draw also for your camels until they have finished drinking." So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the well to draw, and she drew for all his camels. Meanwhile the man gazed at her in silence, to see whether the Lord had made his journey successful or not. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing a half shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels in gold, and said, "Whose daughter are you? Please tell me. Is there room for us to lodge in your father's house?" She said, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. We have plenty of both straw and feed, and room to lodge in." Then the man bowed low and worshipped the Lord. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving kindness and truth toward my master. As for me, the Lord has guided me in the way to the house of my master's brothers." Then the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban, and Laban ran outside to the man at the spring, when he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, "This is what the man said to me," he went to the man. And behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. He said, "Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I have prepared the house and a place for the camels?" So the man entered the house. Then Laban unloaded the camels, gave straw and feed to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. But when food was set before him to eat, he said, "I will not eat until I have told my business." And Laban said, "Speak on." So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, so that he has become rich. He has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and servants and maids and camels and donkeys. Now Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master in her old age, and he has given him all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, 'You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, but you shall go to my father's house and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son.' I said to my master, 'Suppose the woman does not follow me.' He said to me, 'The Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you to make your journey successful. You will take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my father's house. Then you will be free from my oath when you come to my relatives, and if they do not give her to you, you will be free from my oath.' So I came today to the spring and said, 'O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you will make my journey successful. Behold, I am standing by the spring, and may it be that the maiden who comes out to draw, and to whom I say, "Please let me drink a little water from your jar," and she will say to me, "You drink, and I will draw for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son." Before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew, and I said to her, "Please let me drink." She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I will water your camels also." So I drank, and she watered the camels also. Then I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" And she said, "The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him." And I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I bowed low and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had guided me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. So now, if you are going to deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. And if not, let me know, that I may turn to the right hand or the left." Then Laban and Bethuel replied, "The matter comes from the Lord, so we cannot speak to you bad or good. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken." When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the ground before the Lord. The servant brought out articles of silver and gold, and garments, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank, and spent the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, "Send me away to my master." But her brother and her mother said, "Let the girl stay with us a few days, say 10. Afterward, she may go." He said to them, "Do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go to my master." And they said, "We will call the girl and consult her wishes." Then they called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, "I will go." Thus they sent away their sister Rebekah and her nurse with Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, "May you, our sister, become thousands of 10,000s, and may your descendants possess the gate of those who hate them." Then Rebekah arose with her maids, and they mounted the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and departed. Now Isaac had come from going to Beer Lahai-roi, for he was living in the Negev. Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, camels were coming. Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel. She said to the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" And the servant said, "He is my master." Then she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis chapter 25. Now Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore to him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shuah. Jokshan became the father of Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldai. All these were the sons of Keturah. Now Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Isaac, eastward, to the land of the east. These are all the years of Abraham's life that he lived, 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died at a ripe old age, an old man and satisfied with life. And he was gathered to his people. Then his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, facing Mamre. This was the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. It came about after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac lived by Beer Lahai-roi. Now these are the records of the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maid, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names, in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, firstborn of Ishmael; Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael by their villages and camps, 12 princes according to their tribes. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is east of Egypt, as one goes toward Assyria. He settled in defiance of all his relatives. Now these are the records of the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife. She was the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean, from Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, because she was barren. The Lord answered him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it is so, why then am I this way?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples will be separated from your body. One people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger." When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came forth red, all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau. Afterward his brother came forth with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the field. Jacob was a peaceful man, living in tents. Now Isaac loved Esau, because he had a taste for game. But Rebekah loved Jacob. One day when Jacob had cooked stew, Esau came in from the field, and he was famished. Esau said to Jacob, "Please let me have a swallow of that red stuff there, for I am famished." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau said, "Behold, I am about to die. So of what use then is the birthright to me?" And Jacob said, "First, swear to me." So he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank, and rose and went on his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Genesis chapter 26. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and to your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and will give your descendants all these lands, and by your descendants all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac lived in Gerar. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," thinking, "The men of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, for she is beautiful." It came about, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out through a window, and saw, behold, Isaac was caressing his wife Rebekah. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, certainly she is your wife. How then did you say, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac said to him, "Because I said, I might die on account of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech charged all the people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." Now Isaac sowed in that land, and reaped in the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and the man became rich. He continued to grow richer, until he became very wealthy. For he had possessions of flocks and herds, and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with earth. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are too powerful for us." So Isaac departed from there, and camped in the valley of Gerar, and settled there. Then Isaac dug again the wells of water which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the same names which his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley, and found there a well of flowing water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over it too. So he named it Sitnah. Then he moved away from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he named it Rehoboth, saying, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." Then he went up from there to Beersheba. The Lord appeared to him that same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar, with his advisor Ahuzath and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we said, "Let there now be an oath between us, even between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you." that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you, and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they arose early and exchanged oaths. Then Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Now it came about on the same day that Isaac's servants came in, and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis chapter 27. Now it came about, when Isaac was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." And Esau said to him, "Here I am." Isaac said, "Behold, now I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your gear, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare a savory dish for me, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening while Isaac spoke to his